Open 3ds Max if you don't already have it open. We're going to use 3ds Max as a file viewer to take a look at the JPEG file of our storyboard. We're going to use an option from the Utilities tab of the ribbon. Go ahead and click on Utilities, then click on Asset Browser. The Asset Browser allows you to look for 3ds Max and image files in a more visual way. When the browser opens, you will see a notice. That's a basic copyright notice. Click OK to close the pop-up. Navigate to the Scene Assets directory in the 3D Production Project directory, then to the Images directory. In the Images directory, you'll see a file called storyboard_panel1.jpg. Double-click on that file to load the image. Your view may not look exactly like mine, and we may have to navigate around a little bit in order to see everything. Just let me resize the viewer a bit. There we go. What we're looking at now is storyboard number 1. There's a fair amount of information that we see. It's a long shot of an exterior scene. We have the description of the sun location for lighting, a description of the camera location, and we have a description of what the camera is going to do. In this case, it's going to start from one viewpoint and end up at street level looking down the street. In this case, we need minimum building detail because we're a long way out and we're not really going to see all the detail. Why do we want to have minimum scene detail? For one reason: render time. Remember, the less detail, the faster the render time. And since we have no need for high-resolution models, since we're not getting very close, there's no need to put them in. All this would do is increase our render time and the complexity of our scene for no reason. Close the image viewer. Double-click on storyboard panel2.jpg to open it. If you need to adjust the size of the viewer, go ahead. Here we see a close-up of the exterior of one of the buildings on the street. So we've gone from the outdoor scene far away from this little town to a completely different 3ds Max scene, which is the front view of this building. Again, we're maintaining flexibility and we're optimizing our workflow in creating our scenes because we don't have to have any extra detail in the close-up scene that we don't see. We don't need other buildings or streets, not even the landscape. You'll notice that we have some information on color and different materials, as well as other pertinent information. Close the image viewer. Double-click on storyboard panel3.jpg to open it. Again, if you need to adjust the size of the viewer, go ahead. You'll see that we're now in an interior scene. You'll notice that there's not much detail here. We're just going to have the camera in this scene to give us an establishing shot of the interior space and what it looks like. An establishing shot gives the viewer an overview of where they are. Without it, switching scenes can sometimes be a little confusing, especially going from outside to inside. Once again, close the image viewer and double-click on storyboard panel4.jpg to open it. Adjust the size of the viewer if you need to. In this panel, we have a different interior scene. A similar room, but the lighting is a little different, and there are some different details. The scene gives us a little more information about what we're going to render, and a little bit about the animation that we're going to have for elements in the scene. This storyboard gives us the kind of information that we're going to need to present to the client and ask them, is this going to be acceptable for the animation you're looking for? We're going to use this storyboard as the graphical description for our 3D production final animation.